Hello everyone. So today I'm going to talk about something that I get a lot of questions about, and that is how do I catch these trout on a fly in the winter. And you know, on this channel it's a lot of bass fishermen watch this channel. That's mostly what this channel is, but there's other guys, trout fishermen, guys that fish for whatever, fly guys, all that stuff. So kind of for everyone, and I'm just going to talk about it. So, number one, I don't like ice fishing. I've done it a couple times, don't like doing it, that's why I don't do it. It's too boring for me, it's too cold, sitting on a bucket sucks, stuff like that. I'm just not big into the ice fishing thing. So, that's why I do fly fishing in the winter. Now, I've fly fished forever. When I was a teenager, I used to do it a lot, year-round, stuff like that. But really, when I started getting addicted to bass fishing, whenever the lakes were thawed, I would always be bass fishing. And so fly fishing just kind of went to only doing it in the winter over the last few years, or whatever. So, I'm not really an expert or whatever, but I do enjoy doing it and have quite a bit of success doing it. So, number one, this goes for anywhere, especially here in Colorado. Tailwaters of dams. They don't freeze. The hot water is coming out of those dams. You can get mile stretches of that river until it freezes. So you have miles stretches underneath the dams, and that's where I fish in the winter. It just kind of is dependent on, well, obviously the weather, and then also just the dam and the flow of the dam and things like that. So it's really easy. In wintertime, all you're doing is you're looking for deeper pockets, and here in Colorado in our tiny little rivers, deeper pockets are only a couple feet, 3 feet. Maybe you'll find some that are like 5 feet deep. But those deeper pockets that are next to running current, and that's the best way to catch all the trouts. Alright, so that's really all I'm looking for, is those deeper pockets, and the trout will feed on those current seams where the current comes through into those pockets. They'll feed there, and then they rest in those deeper pockets. Really, you can catch them there. I'm not saying like they're only resting there, but a lot of times I just find that current seam, that's where you're going to catch them all. And in the pocket, you can literally see them sitting there, and you can't get them to hit anything. So, sometimes. So really, it's in those current seams, into those deeper pockets, and just a good solid drift. Everything that I use in the wintertime, especially, and really, I really liked doing this all year round too, actually, is nymph fishing. When a lot of guys that don't know fly fishing, they're automatically just thinking flies on top and trout coming up to hit them on top or whatever. But especially like trout fishing, just flies on top, dry flies. I really like nymph fishing. It is the best for me. I catch a ton doing it, and in the winter, that's what you want to be doing. And so, number one, let's get into like the setup, and I'll get into all that stuff. Number one, this is my fly rod. I bought this when I was a teenager. It's the first fly rod I ever owned, and I still use it. I love this thing. It's an old Redington Red Fly 2, a pretty inexpensive setup, just a crosswater plus reel. Fly gear, it gets so insane, and yeah, I get it. Bass fishing equipment is super insane too, if you want to go that route. But really, for fly fishing, I don't really think you really need it that much, especially for trout. Now it gets different if you're fly fishing for bigger things, you're fishing for reds and stuff. You're offshore ocean fishing with fly rods and things like that, then a little bit different. Maybe even, and then obviously even up north, like doing steelhead fishing and stuff like that. But for trout, you can kind of go out there with any rinky-dink little $100 fly rod or fly setup. This is actually, it wasn't too bad at the time, a couple $100 or whatever, but still use it to this day, still going strong, like 20 years later, and I still love this thing. So then you just got your standard fly line. Tippet that I use in the winter, I go light, leader and tippet, okay? There is a 9-foot 6X tapered leader on there, and then I usually do another 5 feet of 6X leader, or tippet, sorry, tippet, 6X tippet on the end of that leader. And that's generally my line setup. I stick around the 6X. 6X is about 3-pound test. It's like nothing. So super light fluorocarbon leader on there in the wintertime. When you're nymph fishing, especially, our streams here in Colorado super clear all the time. They're natural rock streams, so rock really filters everything out. They're super clear, especially in the winter. That warm water running out of that dam a lot and all that stuff. It's real clear, so light line is a must. 6X is what I stick with, though. I'm not going to go any lighter. 6X is perfect for me. Now, as far as the whole setup goes, so like I said, I usually do the 9-foot leader on there, tapered leader down to 6, and then a 5-foot tippet section at the end of that leader. Now let's get into the setup. Typically, like I said, most places around here and where I fish, those deeper pockets are about 3 feet deep. So I want to set up my rig 3 feet long. So on that tippet section, well, you start with your fly, right? On the very end, obviously, is your fly. Nymph, in this case, using a lot of those. My go-tos, and I'll just put up pictures because you definitely won't be able to see them on the camera, even if I hold them all the way up to them, are little 20 or 22 size zebra midges. Either a brown and white or a black and white little midge. Beadhead, little midge. Those things catch them in every river I go to, and they just work consistently. Another one is same size, or maybe even step up a little bit bigger. I got one river where it really works at about like an 18 or even a 16 in a prince, just like a prince nymph. I will throw all these up like pictures because, like I said, they're super tiny. It's kind of crazy. You don't know how these trout can see these tiny little things in that running current and stuff, and they do. So it's pretty wild. But, so there you go. There's the flies that I typically use this time of year. There are some other things, but if I had to pick any, it would be those two for sure. And then about 3 foot up from that fly is where I'm going to put my indicator. Okay? And I use these indicators. This is just a yarn indicator. I actually buy them. I would make them. Every once in a while I always had problems with them falling off. Didn't really like them. So I just buy these little things. They're super cheap. You get like a 3-pack for like $1 or something. I mean, it's not bad at all. I really like red, actually, but I just don't have any on me right now. But green works as well, but the red always seems to work. I can see it a lot better. And also, the red ones that I buy are a little smaller than this. You just whatever. A yarn indicator, I'm telling you, are the best. And what you're going to want to do with this is it's going to be up 3 foot. Okay, you're going to put that sucker on there. You're actually going to want to make a loop on your line. Go through the hole, back around. I usually do it twice, actually. Back around this way, and then keep going back around that other way. That will keep this from sliding. And that's huge. Guys don't like that. They want it to kind of slide a little bit. I hate it because it's constantly sliding down and you're constantly moving it like after every cast. And I just constantly just want to make cast, do the drift, make cast, do the drift. If I'm not catching them like every freaking cast. So I don't want to be stopping and doing that. So I like to lock it in on the line. The problem with that is you probably have to cut off the whole thing and retie your whole tippet back on if you have a problem. Okay? If you lose a fly or whatever happens, you know, things happen. So, but really typically it doesn't happen that much, so I don't really care. But then halfway between this and your fly that are 3 feet apart, halfway between them, I'm putting in just usually one little split shot. These are just little tiny split shots. This is actually 1/52nd of an ounce. And typically, I just go with one of those. That's it. I have not been in a situation where it's like, I need more weight, really. Well, I can't say never, but a couple times, maybe. I'll just add a second one. You just put on one little weight between the two, and you're good to go. A tip for these bullet weights with that little 6X tippet is to make just a single overhand knot where you're going to put that weight just right in front of it. Little single hand knot. You put the weight right behind that knot, and that'll keep that weight from sliding up and down your line as well. Because even these tiny little split shot type weights they're not going to stay on that 6X little teeny tiny line very good. They will a little bit. They're not going to be sliding every cast like a freaking indicator or whatever, but that knot will help them from sliding at all. And just make sure the sucker, you smush it down on there really good and all that. Use your teeth, use your forceps, whatever. Don't use your teeth, use the forceps. I always use my teeth, but don't listen to me on that one. That's pretty much it. That is all I really had to say about it. Look for deeper pockets that are next to running current. The current does not have to be insane, okay? Typically, you can just stick with that 3 foot length on that from your indicator to your fly. One single weight in the middle. You never need to change it after that. Usually. I will say this. You want to be as close to the bottom with that nymph or midge or whatever. You want to be as close to the bottom as you can. If you're kind of picking up grass sometimes when you're getting it back out of there, you're doing it right. You don't want to obviously be just digging in it the whole time. But just as close to the bottom as you can get it. So judge that deeper pocket. You look at it and it's 5 feet. Make that length 5 feet. Seriously. And just stick with that. When you're in the current, the whole thing's swinging more this way anyway, that it's going to keep it kind of up. If that water, obviously it's shallower right there, but if you still go with the length of your hole there, your deeper hole, when you're in that current, it actually kind of sits more like this. Your indicator's more over here, so it kind of keeps it. But when that current's really slow, it's more kind of vertical. So just go with the length of that deeper water hole. All right. And yeah, light line. That's pretty much it. And the very last tip, and this goes for anyone fishing in the winter. I don't care if you're ice fishing, I don't care if you're fly fishing. Dress accordingly and be careful. This water is freezing cold. Even in the rivers with that running water, it's still barely over freezing. You can still die if you go into that water. So I'm just telling you guys, be careful out there. That's the biggest tip for any type of fishing in the winter. Just be careful. Have yourself ready. Make sure you're not walking when you're doing this fly fishing thing in the winter. Make sure you're not walking in stupid spots. Always go slow. Look at your feet. Make sure you're not going to fall into a deep hole or land into something, trip, and get swept down current. You'll probably be dead before you even get somewhere where you're out of the current. You will probably freeze. So, just had to throw that out there. Thank you. It's kind of a weird video. Like I said, I'm not a complete expert. I'm sure a lot of fly people will probably find this and be like, you're an idiot, but I'm not. Go watch my videos. I catch them all the time, and I try to keep it very simple. Some fly fishing guys and even bass fishermen, every fisherman, you know, bass fishing is the exact same way. Every fisherman just makes it more complicated sometimes. A lot of them do. I try to keep it simple and just catch fish. Anyway, I'll see you guys on the next one. Should be hitting the river soon, so you'll actually see some more of that. See you.